Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of NCBA's Coffee Break. I'm your host, Nathan Willner, and I'm really excited for today's conversation because we're revisiting a topic that's been evolving incredibly fast over the past year, artificial intelligence in the ARM industry. And joining me today is someone many of you will remember from a previous episode, Isaac Goldman, CEO at Vertican. Last time he joined us, we talked about Goldie AI and the early vision of how AI could support law firms and agencies in our space. A year later, there's been a lot of progress, a lot of learning, and importantly, a lot of real world applications. Isaac, welcome back to Coffee Break. Great to have you.
Hey, Nathan, thank you so much for having me. It's hard to believe that it's actually been a year since the last time we got to speak about all of this. We spoke for the first time. We were really talking about, AI was mostly a conversation tool, and we were talking about how can we have conversations with it. And today, we've shifted that entire or evolved, progressed into a world where we're now talking about what AI can do for us, and so it's really exciting.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on what you said, last year we talked about your new product, Goldie AI, and your broader vision for bringing AI into the ARM industry. And since then, the platform, I understand, has really expanded into what you're now calling Goldie Plus, and you've introduced new automation tools like Checkmate. So, can you walk us through how the platform has evolved over the past year? And I'd especially love to hear more about this new product, Checkmate, and what it does and what operational challenges it helps law firms solve today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So, like I said, we've gone from like an ask and answer type of a platform to a platform that can actually take action. Just a very quick recap. When we first started experimenting with AI and AI tools, we thought, what if the AI had access to all the information that the people at Vertican have access to? Could it help answer like deep and interesting questions about the product? And we've been able to prove that internally and externally with our client base, which has been fantastic. As we started to learn about the technology and what it was capable of, we started to look at different areas of the law firm. And so Checkmate is one of the first modules that we're releasing under the Goldie Plus platform. And specifically Checkmate is a check reading and posting tool. And so you have to think that when checks come into a law office, somebody has to open the envelope, somebody has to figure out which file it belongs to. They have to key in the amount, the date, the check number, the payer. They have to allocate a certain amounts in Collection Master or Q-Law or JST or Cogent or any other platform that's out there. It's usually done by a paralegal. Maybe some of this is done by a BPO, by somebody that's working offshore. And what Checkmate does is it takes that entire workflow and it compresses it. So it's a multi-stage AI pipeline. It uses vision extraction, OCR, correction, transformation, matching, and it exports the data directly back into your software. So it takes a check, reads and takes all the information off the check just like a human would do, matches it exactly to 100% confidence with the data that's in your CRM, your system of record, posts that information based upon your rules, and then saves the check or deletes it based upon your preference in your media management system.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So let's shift to something that's top of mind for just about everyone in our industry, compliance, data security, and trust. As firms think about adopting AI, there's always the balance between innovation and risk management. And especially now that you're talking about millions of pieces of information, especially dealing with banking and checking. So how's Vertican approaching those concerns while still delivering tools that are practical and usable? All this information, and then you have to protect it, right?
Without a doubt, the most important question any of us can be asking, and we should all be asking ourselves this, and to any of our trusted IT partners. So first thing, Ask Goldie. Goldie Plus is not ChatGPT. Love ChatGPT. OpenAI is a fantastic company, right? But they're not the same things. And so, in the AI models and the LLMs that we use, there's a couple of things that we need to that we need to say very very clearly right off the bat. No customer data is ever used to train any AI models internally or externally at Vertican. It's never shared across customers. It's fully contained within the customer's own tenant. So you can think of Goldie as something that is completely private. And what we do while we're building these things is we thought to ourselves, how can we build literally the most compliant version of these tools? So rather than thinking of ChatGPT as like this big overarching thing that has access to everything, we limit it and use it for a very specific purpose. All the tools that we build specifically use data encryption. So we're using TLS 1.2 for all the data that's in transit. Industry standard encryption at rest. We're using Azure's Key Vault. Again, documents are completely isolated in their own tenants. All of the underlying infrastructure carries a SOC 1, SOC 2, Type 1 and Type 2, ISO 27001, GDPR, FedRAMP, where applicable. So we are meeting and exceeding all of the compliance standards. And I think most importantly for anybody that's building any AI tools that we're going to be using, especially in financial services or legal, you have to be getting formal risk assessments that are NIST or National Institute of Standard Technology certified, and we follow their risk management framework. So that's a long way to say that we think about this every single day, and we've been dealing with sensitive data at Vertican for 30 years. And so we're putting in at all of the appropriate steps to make sure that your data belongs to you and only you, is only accessible by you, but yet giving our customers and our partners the ability to use these incredible tools to take tasks that humans have been doing for decades and be able to do them reliably for a very small fraction of the cost at a much, much higher rate of quality and in a much shorter period of time.
Yeah, so I can tell you're incredibly excited about this, and I probably could wake you up in the middle of the night and you could, rattle off, a lot of abbreviations that I've never heard of. So I want to zoom out a bit, for the last question and get your broader perspective. What are your personal thoughts on AI, and where do you see it going, and how do you think it's ultimately going to shape the ARM industry over the next couple of years? Like, where is this taking us?
Um, Again, super topical question. I can't wait to watch myself in 10 years and to see how wrong I was about all of my future predictions. So that'll be super fun. I went to a talk with a professor from the University of Pennsylvania a couple of months ago, and he talked about Excel. And the conversation was about AI. And I'm going to read from something. His thoughts on Excel were that Excel arrived in 1985, and everybody at that time predicted that accountants would become less and less or ultimately disappear because it was taking over the role, of what an accountant would normally do with a green bar sheet of paper. The exact opposite has happened. If you actually, go in and study the numbers, I encourage you to do, research this a little bit. There's roughly 3 times more accountants per employee in the United States today than there were in 1985. And so one conclusion that you can draw from that is that Excel actually enabled people to do a job, enable them to do a job in a better and different way, and therefore created more of those jobs. Are there other factors? Yes, the economy today is very different than it was in 1985. Industry is different. The way that we produce things is different. Of course, that's all true. I see AI as an assistant and an enablement, rather than a replacer. I do believe that it's true that it used to be that somebody that wrote really good Python code was probably premium in the job market, and today it's not nearly as valuable just simply because of how the tools and the models are able to engage with certain technology. But I think that people that win in the ARM industry and in the broader scope of our economy are those that are going to embrace the technology, those that are going to look at what can AI do to make me better, faster, and stronger. How can I do it compliantly and securely? And what can I do to win more business in whatever business that I'm in by just trying to figure out how to become more efficient and more operationally sound. There's a lot of noise out there and it's difficult to cut through, but I think that if you speak with the right vendors and try to find the right experts, to the extent that there can be an expert on something that's only been publicly available for 18 to 24 months, you figure out what makes sense for you and your firm.
Yeah,
on
I know that. Yeah, that.
on a personal level, I love
Yeah.
it. I'm relying on AI to help me by filling out my kids' camp forms, searching for documents. As a single parent, trying to keep everything together. It's helped me with scheduling and prioritization, and so I'm fully living it, in both my personal, and professional life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's in everything that we're doing. So people that, say, "Oh, I don't use AI," they're using AI. If you're using your phone, you're using AI. So Isaac, I really appreciate you coming back and sharing the latest updates. It's great to see how this has evolved from a forward-looking idea into something firms can actually put to work every single day. And for our listeners, if nothing else, I hope today's conversation made AI feel a little less like science fiction and a little more like something that might actually help you get out of the office on time, or at least closer to on time. Thanks again for everyone for tuning into NCBA's Coffee Break. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with your colleagues. Until next time, I'm Nathan Willner, and thank you, Isaac Goldman, for joining us today. Encouraging everyone who's listening to stay involved, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay caffeinated. We'll see you on the next episode of NCBA's Coffee Break. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.